This road leading down to Castle El Yehud on the banks of the Jordan River near Jericho is the natural place to begin this week's Roots and Reflections as we drive on what is the farthest approach to Jerusalem's eastern gate. Actually, this is the gateway to the entire Promised Land. It was here that Joshua led the children of Israel across the river into Canaan. As these landmine warning signs indicate, this was a closed military area since 1967. But peace between Israel and Jordan has encouraged touristic development of both sides of the river. We joined a tour group from Singapore at the traditional site of Jesus' baptism. Sometimes one can see Greek Orthodox pilgrims actually immersing special icons of Jesus into the muddy Jordan waters in celebration of the baptism.
But the actual place of baptism is here, between Jericho and the Dead Sea. Why here? I want to remind you that we are not far from Mount Nebo. Mount Nebo is the place where Moses looked over the Promised Land. And we are very close to the place where Elijah ascended to heaven.
According to the book of Joshua, the river waters miraculously piled up to the north of here. Then the priests who bore the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord stood firm on dry ground in the midst of Jordan, and all Israel crossed over on dry ground until all the people had crossed completely over the Jordan. Following such an event, those ancestors of mine must have danced here at Gilgal, their first toehold in the Promised Land, though they would have employed harps and tambourines and not an accordion like this one played by the Singaporean's bus driver. From here, Joshua's army proceeded to march around Jericho for 7 days, after which the walls came tumbling down. We're at the old city of Jericho, some experts say dating back as far as 9,000 years ago, as we can see the remains of a tower and a wall. Remember the story of Rahab the harlot and how God used her to save those that were with Joshua? Maybe someone's still at home. Hello down there. Hello down there. You can talk the talk, or you can walk the walk, or you can take a cable car up to the Mount of Temptation. Which way tempts you? We opted for the cable car ride up to the Mount of Temptation above Jericho. The Gospel says, then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. It's amazing how much biblical history took place within line of sight from this panoramic view. Elijah poured a bowl of salt into the Jericho spring below, healing the waters that had been cursed for centuries. And it was down there that the school of the prophets witnessed the iron axe head floating on the water. Back in Jericho, I do some shopping. This city was always prized for its date palms, luscious fruit, spices, and in particular as the source of balsam, the most valued ointment of antiquity, in demand throughout the known world from Rome to Egypt and Persia. Listen, I know these oranges are the best.
The best orange.
These are the best.
The vitamin C.
And this is pomelo,
Yeah.
which is like a grapefruit,
Like the grapefruit, like the orange.
but like an orange.
Between the orange and the grapefruit.
So we know that there were springs in Jericho, which made this place an oasis and gave bountiful fruit, even in the days of Elijah. How much is the cinnamon?
Chicken?
Yeah. What else do we have here? Well, I'll take these. Let me take these. Curcum and cinnamon. Okay, so then I'll get those too. Otherwise, we'll run out of money to eat. In New Testament times, Jericho was the second most important city of Herod's kingdom. Here he had his winter palace, and of course, Jesus passed through Jericho on numerous occasions on his way to Jerusalem. Nearly 2,000 years ago, a man short of stature named Zacchaeus wanted to take a look at Jesus amongst the great crowds. Maybe this tree in Jericho was the sycamore tree that Zacchaeus came down when Jesus said, "Zacchaeus, come on down." I decided to pay a visit to Daud's fruit stand on Jericho's main thoroughfare. On a previous visit with my wife and mother to Jericho, he offered me 10 camels for my mom. Of course, I refused his offer, but I'll still buy some of the best citrus fruit in the world from him. Offered a few camels for her, but just not enough.
Yeah, welcome.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, welcome.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. Everything okay?
Yeah, everything's wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, taste the oranges, Jericho. You want to squeeze it for you, fresh orange juice.
For an accurate picture of what's going on in Jericho today, we visited Karen Dunham of Living Bread Ministries. God led her to this place some years ago, and despite persecution, Living Bread is an active church that helps the poor and even has a television program.
So we started church in the refugee camp. We went through many trials. We went through fires. We went through explosions. We had one Bedouin. During the fire, he went home to take a break, and he said he went home, told his whole family about Jesus. They all had Jesus in their hearts, and he came back to the camp and said, "My family all loves Jesus now." In the camp, we had a small church, and after the fire, we moved into an Arabian wedding hall, and it is absolutely glorious. The wedding hall will hold up to 600, and it has been packed full many, many times. We're praying for them. The Lord's healing their babies.
Lord, she came to the altar and she brought her baby. And Lord, I just thank you that she wants a drink of the living waters. Okay, they're going to make a prayer tunnel for you.
What's happened is this is the eastern gate, the doorway to the promised land. And the King of Kings is in the doorway, and he is visiting this city once again. The signs and the wonders and the move of grace that's happening, it's flooding the city.
We want to meet the practical needs of those living in Israel, whether Jews or Arabs. The Joseph Storehouse has been established as a channel of God's mercy through the distribution of food, medical supplies, and other necessities to those most in need. By calling the number on the screen and becoming a monthly partner with us, or by going online and giving a one-off gift today, we can meet the needs of more people in the land. Please give generously. Your giving makes a world of difference to those in need.
We've just come up from the lowest place on Earth. The Dead Sea is minus 420 meters or 1,300 feet below sea level, making Jericho the lowest city in the world.
Oh, we're above sea level. We just came from the area of the Dead Sea in Jericho. I can breathe again.
We're on our way from Jericho to Jerusalem's Eastern Gate on Roots and Reflections. But here we're going to take a little detour into the Judean desert. Seen from the air, it appears lifeless, but looks are deceptive. A freshwater spring feeds the Wadi Kelt. As they have done for thousands of years, Bedouin bring their flocks here for watering. And the nomadic tent dwellers even take advantage of tourism to supplement their livelihood, setting up a juice stand in the middle of the desert here in Wadi Kelt.
One for you, and one for me. They say there were thousands of monks that actually dwelled in these cliffs and in the monasteries here in the Wadi Kelt. From Jericho up to the eastern side of Jerusalem, we go through into the monastery of St. George.
The monastery of St. George was founded in 420 AD by 5 hermits seeking to escape the temptations of Byzantine Jerusalem. It's a Greek Orthodox monastery perched in the canyon, a steep hike down from the main road. Nearby is the cave, traditional site where the prophet Elijah took refuge and was fed by ravens. Here, cave-dwelling hermit monks emulated Elijah, though they were fed by other monks and not ravens. Yet it's interesting that the Hebrew word for ravens is spelled the same way as the word Arabs, or bim, Arabim. So could Elijah have been fed here by the ancestors of these Bedouin?
It's time for a break. I think we should see what Bati is doing over on the hills beyond us. Let's go.
You
After that desert musical interlude with Batya, it's time to head back to the Jerusalem Eastern Road. But since the ascent hike is so steep, I'm going to work out a transportation deal with the Bedouin.
Okay, I'll give you 60 shekels. The Good Samaritan traveled the road much like we're traveling on right now, as he came from Jericho up to Jerusalem. Of course, he turned around and helped his fellow man who had been robbed and left for dead. It should remind us here at St. George's of doing good deeds for other people.
The Bible teaches us that as we bless Israel, God will bless us. Now is your opportunity to be a blessing to Israel and to God's chosen people. By giving to the work of Roots and Reflections, not only do you enable us to continue to bring you this program, but also your gift does far more. It supports our humanitarian work on the ground in the Holy Land amongst both Jews and Arabs. And it helps us to continue to educate you, your friends and family, and the body of Christ worldwide on the significance of Israel and the place she plays in the heart of God. Would you consider giving a one-time donation today or becoming a monthly partner with this ministry? Roots and Reflections rely on your partnership to help us to continue to broadcast this message. Please call the number on the screen now or go to our website at rootsforyou.tv. Become a partner with us and bless the nation of Israel.
This is the Eastern Approach Road to Jerusalem. Our next Roots and Reflections stop is in the city of Ma'ale Adumim, one of the largest Jewish communities or settlements in Judea, with a population of over 30,000.
Ma'ale Adumim is really an oasis in the desert of Judea, with palm trees, young children, and green grass that's sprouting on the hills in the desert. The city of Ma'ale Adumim is one of the largest cities in the area of Judea. And we're going to look this week at the word of the week, and that word is savlanut. Let's go ask some of the residents of this city.
Savlanut is to wait and wait for something, not getting it right away. That's the meaning of savlanut.
Savlanut is more than actually just a word. It's really a way of life. That things take time, and if it doesn't happen today, it might happen tomorrow. If it doesn't happen tomorrow, next week. And if it doesn't happen next week, then we've probably forgotten about it by now anyway, so it really doesn't matter.
Savlanut is a difficult word for Israelis. We don't have much savlanut for waiting. You see, I'm already in a hurry.
The word savlanut, it means patience. Patience, yeah, we have to have patience. That's the same in nature. Also, when it's raining, you don't immediately see that all the hills are green. It takes time.
Savlanut.
Savlanut. A person must be patient, calm, answering other people politely.
You really need savlanut in this country. People love to cut you off. Isn't that true everywhere, though? But I got a nice guy behind me. He's letting me out, and I can get out of here finally. Let's hit the road, Jack.
A short distance off the main eastern road to Jerusalem in the Judean desert is Genesis land. This well-worth short detour leads 3,800 years back in time.
We're here today in the Judean wilderness outside of Jerusalem with none other here at Genesis land than with Abraham himself. Abraham, shalom.
Shalom and welcome.
Yeah.
I'm Abraham, son of Terach, and I've come from Ur to this area, following the signs that God gave me. And we're here in Eretz Bereshit, which is our portal, you could say, to be able to go back in time to my tent. And this is why I also put you on a camel, because what we're doing is replicating the book of Genesis, because we understand that not only Rebecca, but Rachel and Leah rode on camels because they were important people. They were treasured people. And as such, we put them on camels. And so do you when you come to visit us. And we try to replicate as much as possible the entire good deed of hospitality.
Look, Ma, no hands. Batia, say hello to the camel I'm with. Just say hello to him. I think that's a no-go for the camel.
See you. Oh, this is good. Please, come this way. Wash your hands. Now, please, come take a seat in my tent. So you could also say I'm washing your hands to make sure that you'll be able to enjoy the hospitality. But having said that, I also travelled a long way to get here. I know you came 3,800 years in time, but I came from a place away off over there called Ur. Have you heard of it?
Hospitality is the essence of Middle Eastern culture. Abraham welcomed 3 passers-by, washing their hands and feet, inviting them into his tent. There it was that the Lord spoke to Abraham and Sarah, promising the birth of Isaac. More than just opening his tent, Abraham offers the best to his guests, from water to refreshing dried fruit. Above all, it's the attitude that counts. As guests in his tent, we're even privy to some of his personal problems and dilemmas.
This problem with the shepherds of Lot that you see I think I have a solution. And my solution is I spoke to Lot yesterday. He was sitting in the tent, I think where you're sitting. And I said to him, we need a little space between us. If you go to the left, I will go to the right. If you go to the right, I will go to the left. Is that fair?
Some of those bad shepherds actually stole the pita bread for our main meal. So Abraham is going to teach us how to bake our own, so we don't go hungry.
Now I'm not banging it or putting it on my palm. I slowly stretch it.
3 fingers. 3 fingers here. Stretch. And in just a few seconds, hopefully, you have a piece of pita. Everybody say pita.
Okay, now afterwards, not before, but after it's been cooked, I want you to try by dipping your pita here into the olive oil and za'atar. If you remember, when Abraham sees the guests coming, he doesn't pick up the phone and call for catering. He tells Sarah, and he runs and gets meat, and what does she do? She takes 3 amounts of fine flour, 3 cakes of flour.
And we take it over here.
Oop, quickly.
Now you really don't have to worry if there's a hole or two. What counts is how thin it is. Look at this one, a good one.
Cooking 101.
Oh, I think we better get this one next, yeah.
Oh,
this one.
oh,
It's okay, all the dirt burns off.
Whose is this?
Hey, you took my spot.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse
So
me.
right.
Maybe just pass them to me.
Okay. Come right in. This is yours? Like that road going
Whose is this one? Oh, doing well.
Wow,
That looks like almost has
well
the stripes
done.
of a matzah.
It's taken some savlanut, but now finally, it's time for a Genesis land dinner.
This is baba ganoush. It's made out of eggplant and tahini, which is made from sesame seeds, ground down, and then we add water back to the powder. And the hyssop we like to use in many of our foods because it teaches you to be humble. Why is that? Because the actual hyssop plant is very short or very low, and it teaches you can have a very good flavour. It works very hard without being like a tall pine or tree. All of the dishes have different herbs and spices. The idea here is that we want to play with your palate so that you should feel as if you're a prince or a king at my table, because your tongue will tell you that you're not just getting a lot of one flavour, you're getting a lot of different flavours. And as such, then you must be an important person.
Abraham has served us a great meal, which we're about to feast upon. Look at the family behind me. But one thing I have to tell you, in Abraham's day, they didn't have forks and knives like this. So we're going to get rid of them, and we're going to eat the Middle Eastern way. Let's take a dip of that tasty hummus. Oh man, you don't know what you're missing.
Now, of course, we come to the main course, which today is chicken with silan, or what we call date honey. Now, why is that? Because we refer to the land as the land of milk and honey. But of course, we have to have a choice in every course, and here we have the kebabs.
That Abrahamic blessing is too much. After such a feast, I need some activity. Abraham offers to mold a clay camel, but issues a warning, as many in his day used this method to make household idols. Now, can you see the resemblance? No, don't worry. It's not a household idol.
He's getting his camel riding certificate because he was trained by Eliezer to ride a camel.
What this means is I can ride a camel anywhere in the world. This is the official camel license. You have to come to Genesis Land.
Have you been enjoying the cookery spots with Batia on our Roots and Reflections programs? Many people have requested these recipes to try at home, and we are delighted that Batia has now made them available to you. You can get Batia's recipes online by downloading them from our website, roots4u.tv, or alternatively, email a request for them to barry@roots4u.tv, and we will gladly send them to you. We will continue to add new recipes to those already available, so make sure you click on the button on the website that says to sign up, and we will send the new ones to you by email direct to your inbox as soon as they become available. We know this will be a great resource to you and your family, and hope you have fun exploring all the different recipes that Batia has perfected over the years. Don't forget to sign up today.
Okay, let's do it together.
In Roots and Reflections, we move along the road to Jerusalem's eastern gate. Through this tunnel, one passes under Mount Scopus from the desert into Jerusalem. Our final stop is on the Mount of Olives at a friend's house overlooking the eastern gate. We're here with Tom Hess of the Jerusalem House of Prayer for All Nations, and we're standing right by the eastern gate behind us. It's an incredible view with an incredible person. Tom, shalom.
Shalom. We know that the eastern gate, in fact, East Jerusalem and the Mount of Olives and the eastern gate is where almost everything happened in the life of Yeshua when he was here in Jerusalem. We know that he lived in Bethany, right on this side of Mali Adumim, and that he was there with Lazarus, and he lived with Mary and Martha, and Lazarus was raised from the dead from there. And we know also in Bethphage, which is in the eastern gate, is where he got on his donkey on Palm Sunday, and he came down over the eastern peak of the Mount of Olives, which is on Bethphage, and he came down to here, and then he went down through the Golden Gate into Jerusalem. Also, according to the maps in history, the ashes of the red heifer were sacrificed on this property, or very, very close to this property. When you look at the maps, they were right in this area. And there was a two-tiered bridge that went from the upper part of the Mount of Olives over the valley to the Golden Gate. So this was the place of sacrifice. This was also the place where two books that I've read actually believe that the crucifixion took place on the Mount of Olives. The reason they believe that is because the only place you could see the veil of the temple being torn from was on the Mount of Olives, and this was the place of sacrifice. They say that you could not see the veil of the temple being torn from the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. You could not see it from the Garden Tomb or the Golgotha, the traditional Protestant place. So many people believe that actually the crucifixion even took place here on the Mount of Olives.
It's incredible to think what Tom Hess has just said, because in Mark chapter 15, verse 37 and 38, it says, "And Jesus cried out with a loud voice and breathed his last. Then the veil of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. So when the centurion who stood opposite him saw that, what did he see?" The centurion was witness to the veil being torn from top to bottom, and more than likely was standing right here on the Mount of Olives facing the eastern gate.
The altar of sacrifice was always on the eastern side of the tabernacle, or later the temple. Every reference in the Torah to acceptable sacrifice places it to the east. So it makes sense that the greatest sacrifice of all should have taken place outside the temple to the east. According to the Mishnah, the temple wall was lower on the eastern side, so that the priests could sprinkle the blood of the red heifer towards the Holy of Holies. It says, "All the walls there were high, save only the eastern wall, because the high priest that burns the red heifer and stands on the top of the Mount of Olives should be able to look directly into the entrance of the sanctuary when the blood is sprinkled." From the Mount of Olives, the centurion would have had a view of the veil being torn from top to bottom.
According to Zechariah, the living waters will flow out of Jerusalem, and that they will flow to the Western Sea, probably along the Tel Aviv Highway or some Jerusalem-Tel Aviv Highway. There will be a river flowing to the Western Sea, but it also says that they will flow out of the Eastern Gate, and it will go down through the desert and go down into the Dead Sea, and the Dead Sea will become alive, and I look forward to going fishing there in the millennium. And I'm actually thinking of the possibility of, I'm thinking of getting a raft, because, you know, I'm thinking when the mountain splits, I would like to jump on a raft and, you know, go riding down into the Dead Sea.
Imagine riding a raft down the river from Jerusalem to the Dead Sea. Definitely the quickest way back to where we started today.